Nightly Musers, followers of the pod, faithful few and hopeful many. This is Anchor by Spotify. If you haven't heard about it, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. It's the very platform that allows me to give you what I give you on the nightly. So let me explain. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. And it gives you the ability to distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and so much more. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And best of all, Anchor is totally FREE free. So here's where you come in. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That is ANCHOR.fm to get started. Thank you very much. Peace. Welcome to the Nightly Muse podcast. This is your host, Tinayeshe. We're on the road. My goodness, on the road again. Shout out Low Fly. He's that guy. Today's episode is about learning how to say no. I do a lot. It's not a flex. It's just, when I was in high school, I squeezed all the juice out of that experience that I could because, quite honestly, I didn't know what I wanted to be. The only dream, and I say this, the only dream that I've consistently had, that I had the words for, was wanting to be a father, wanting to be a husband. Those were I didn't know what my career was going to be. I didn't know where I would live, what that would look like. I just knew that I wanted to be a dad. But first, a husband, and then a dad. And that's always been kind of my story. And so here I am, kind of figuring out what that looks like, not being a dad and being a father, but kind of being a late bloomer in terms of figuring out what I wanted to be or who I wanted to be. And I guess that's in part, I grew up in a household where knowing that and having that planned out was emphasized at an early age, and my sisters, to my detriment, were a little more, they had a little more vision as it pertained to that. My first real life dream outside of wanting to be a basketball player was going to a Hillsong concert and saying, hey, I want to do what they do. And here I am, to a degree, a lesser degree. It's not exactly the same, but I do get to play the guitar and sing and lead worship for my job, which is kind of amazing. But yeah, in high school, I was a 3-sport athlete from 8th grade to my junior year. Senior year, I did 2 sports. Somehow I was a 3-sport athlete, and I did a play while I was in season for another sport. Not the smartest move, led to a lot of frustration and relational heartache, but it happened. I was the chaplain of my student body for 3.5 years. I did step down my senior year. That's a story for another time. I squeezed the life out of my high school experience because I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted to be, and I thought high school was the place to try to figure out what I'm interested in. And college seemed to be the place where you streamlined and you aligned your career based off of your interests, if that makes sense. And Some of it, skills based, etc. But for the most part, I thought I had to have everything figured out by the time I got to college. And most of my peers, it wasn't the case. College is where you figured things out. And to a degree, college is where I figured things out. But getting a little sidetracked, I said yes to a lot of things. I remember when I was in college, I was also kind of in charge of the worship program at my church in high school that persisted through college and until I got to where I am now. I remember being in college, and the last thing I wanted to do was lead worship anywhere else, because this isn't my resume, but I'm remembering things that I also did in high school that I continued to do as an adult. I kind of refounded the worship team at my high school. It's an interesting story, another time. But I'd done the worship thing for so long, and I was serving. The last thing I wanted to do in college was serve somewhere else. I wanted to receive. I wanted to be a member and not a giver. And I know that that's, in church community and Christian community, ideally everybody is giving, but I wanted to be just a member of the congregation. That was something that was a huge desire, because I felt like I never got to just be a member. I was pastor's kid. I was praise band member or praise band founder. I was whatever, chaplain. It was always, these were things that were important for me growing up to be involved in and to learn from. But I needed a break. And I remember I got involved in FCA. They're not sponsors. And the moment somebody found out that I could sing, it was, oh, all right, so we need you on this. You want to, and I will say, I'm pretty sure that started off with me having a somewhat desire to be involved. There was this guy, shout out Matt Johnson. He was the quarterback at the time for UNC Charlotte, and he was one of the sweetest guys to me. Him and Thomas LaBianca. And seeing Matt lead worship made me be like, you know what, that's pretty cool. This, athlete of the town, quarterback of the school, if he's doing it, maybe that would be kind of cool to be involved or whatever. So I will say, in that space, seeing somebody serve made me interested. But that was the only place. And then came the ongoing cycle of, I got involved with some other campus ministries, and it was as soon as they found out that I could sing, and I'm not I can't lie, I'm very good at what I do, but it was if I'm, it's if I'm in the congregation and I'm singing, I can't help that people notice. But at the same time, it's just because somebody can sing doesn't necessarily mean that they need to be singing. And I have to remember that for myself, for my own boundaries. But this began the cycle of, ooh, Kennedy can sing. Let's have him on the worship team. And I did say no in a couple spaces, but it was very much a difficult journey of me trying to learn how to say no. And I remember I got involved in, I went to this worship night, and my friend Hollins, I went to this worship night, and there were these two people leading worship together, and they blew me away. And it was super intimate, super just extremely worshipful, extremely intimate, and extremely calming and centering. And I was finally, I found the place that will allow me to just be a fly on the wall, to just be a passive or active receiver, really. It's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be an active receiver or a passive, like, I wanted to be a bystander, if that makes sense. Like, I just wanted to be in the room where it was happening, but not making it happen. And so, shout out Hamilton. The room where it happens. I always think he has such an interesting, like, intonation in how he says that. Room where it happens. He says it so weird. I can't mimic it at all. And then, like, 6 months later, like the next semester or something, the girl, she starts off the semester saying, "Hey guys," I'm trying to do my best Holland's voice. "Hey guys, so we're really in need of like a vocalist or like volunteers, specifically vocalists. That would really be a gift if you could do that for us." And I'm hearing her say this, and in my mind, I hear my mother, who grew up saying, children, if there's somebody who has a need and God has given you the ability to meet that need, then there's nowhere else to look for. You're looking at it. You're the mirror. That is, you've been given the gift to meet the need, so meet the need. And that's all I could hear, and I couldn't ignore it, and so I said yes. And that yes is quite literally how I have this job today. I mean, I look at processes, I look at connections, and how this small decision, this small yes led to me meeting my eventual boss, or connecting with my eventual boss, and all the stuff like the internship and the residency and the job. So, yes, learning to, yes has been wanting to say no. I have the capacities to say no, but I also am very aware that God does something through our yeses. And now I'm in this stage where, man, I'm working for a church. I grew up, I mean, in college, I started coaching football. Actually, the first sport I coached was track. And I loved coaching so much through that experience, something I never thought I would do. Again, that yes made way for something that I want to be a part of my life. And now I'm working for a church. People ask me to be doing worship nights every now and then, and like coaching and all this stuff. And then personal projects like this podcast and my personal music and life in between. Shout out. And I'm realizing, 12 minutes to get here. I'm realizing that when I was younger, decision making or learning how to say no was a lot based off of just the door closing. Like, God, I almost went to Liberty and that door closed. Very, like, I wasn't a huge fan of the person in charge, and he said something kind of irresponsible, and I was like, I don't want to be at that type of school where leadership does that, because your leadership is supposed to be, a reflection or taking care of your community. And I don't think his words did that very well. And I didn't even find that out. Somebody else showed me the clip of what he said, and that was like something in my spirit was like, I'm not going there. And everybody in high school knew Kennedy was going to Liberty. And that was kind of the story there. The abridged, not spilling everybody's business version. But the point. Doors close, right? Like, there were times where it was like, all right, God, if this is what you want me to do, show me. And if not, like, he very clearly would show me, like, this is something you're supposed to do, this is something you're not supposed to do. And now I'm learning, and some of it had to do with, like, you make the pros cons list. I was talking to my boss about this the other day. It gets to a point where the cons are going to be the cons and the pros are going to be the pros. And you realize that everything has cons. and everything has pros. And it's a matter of your ability to, is this pro worth, does it outweigh the cons? Do these cons outweigh the pro? Like, you just learn to deal with it once you've made the realization that everything kind of has pros and cons. And most of the things that I want to be involved in, they're all good things. And the point that I'm making with this episode, I promise this isn't just me trying to push out an episode. I did think about this, and it's maybe not coming off the way that I thought it would. I was with my boss, the pastor. And it was either him or it was Matt that said, somebody told me, a yes is worth 1,000 no's. Like, saying yes to one thing is saying no to all potentials that would take place during that time. Making this commitment is saying no to all other things that may take place during the time frame that it, like, a yes is very valuable. And I'm learning the power of yes. Like, again, I've experienced the power of yes, but also no is a powerful thing as well. And no doesn't always mean that the thing is bad. It just means that you may not have the capacity for said good thing. And learning how to, like, differentiate between that is really hard. Because I love coaching. And I love working for the church. I love worship nights. I love fill in the blank. But I can't say yes to all of them, because then I won't do any of them well. And so, like, I'm trying to figure out, like, is this the season, pun intended, really pun not intended, but you know what I mean. Is this the season for me to step away from coaching for a little bit as I kind of get more established in my career? Is this the season for me to not say yes to as many worship nights because I need the rest? Is this the time to say yes to hanging out with friends more and family, because I don't really get to see them because we're not at the same church anymore? I don't have the same structured time with my sisters and my mom and my dad anymore. And so, is this the time to prioritize relationship over extra? Like, you know, I'm saying yes to working out. Haven't missed a day yet. I'm saying yes to working on my music and my podcast and all of those things. So that, is it the time to say no to other things so I can travel? You know what I mean? Like, I'm having to learn that saying no to something isn't because it's bad. It just might not be the time for it. And I hope that makes sense. I don't have a incredible word for you, because quite honestly, I'm in process learning this. And it's really hard. And so if anybody is with me on that, know that your yeses are valuable, and your nos give you the flexibility to say yes to other things. And sometimes you might say no because you're afraid, and that's not a good thing. But learn how to say no, and also be open, like, have open hands to say yes to the things that might change your life. You never know. And sometimes you just gotta follow, I call it my spirit, the spirit inside of me, God's nudging. Maybe it's your gut, whatever people say. But follow your heart. I guess that would be the other But yeah, I'm trying to figure it out. Okay, that's today's episode. I hope you're doing great. Shout out Low Fly. This is the Nightly Muse. I am your guy, Tinayeshe. I'm not saying hey. Oh, my rhymes are the worst. Peace.